Good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It's Monday, September 14th, 2020, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Obviously, as the title card shows, Tropical Storm Sally going to be the big story. It's going to become a hurricane later today, and it's going to have really, really big problems for portions of the central Gulf Coast, and we're going to get to that. We're going to look at all the details as to what to expect for Sally, how we are going to cover it, etc. First, just take a look at this. And what an amazing shot. It almost looks like somebody is just being silly and making things up, yet here it is. You're looking at 7 different areas, 4 named storms at once, plus the remnants of Renee would give us 5, I guess, right? And then 2 small areas here of development chances, bookending all of these storms. Wow, you got Sally, almost a hurricane. Paulette is a hurricane. Just remarkable. And even more remarkable is the fact that we saw this coming months ago from the signals in the atmosphere, in the ocean. People like Ben Knoll and Eric Webb and others, Phil Klotzbach. I follow those people. I watch and see. And we all kind of learned together, and we saw this coming all the way back to the springtime with various signals. It doesn't really help because you don't know when and where exactly something's going to happen, but at least we knew this was coming, and this is not a major surprise. I am sure a lot's going to be made of it by certain media interests and social media interests, maybe an exaggeration of it, but make it very clear we knew this was coming months ago, and here it is. So what do we got? Well, we know that Paulette is now moving away from Bermuda. Winds are 100 miles per hour, 85 knots, 100 miles per hour. Sally, winds are now 65 miles per hour, pressure dropping now to the lowest that it's been yet at 991. We're going to dig into this a lot deeper in a moment. Teddy out here still kind of struggling and holding on to barely as a tropical storm strength, but this will change, and it's going to become a hurricane, I do believe. And then, of course, we have Tropical Storm Vicky that just formed, and that's going to be relatively short-lived out in the open ocean. All right, let's look at the wide satellite shot of all of our systems here. There's Sally. Let's see if I can draw better. I like the color blue. Red just is too, why color everything in red, right? So here's Sally, here's Paulette, developing a little bit, interesting core there. I think it's going to get stronger still. I said 125 was going to be the peak, and I still think that could be possible. We'll see. Then down here is Teddy, and Teddy's going to be a very strong hurricane as it turns up, more than likely into the central Atlantic here. Not much chance. There's just not much ridging out here right now. Too many tropical cyclones poking holes in the Atlantic ridge for much to come west. It just so happens that a little piece of energy that became Sally over here got trapped, and now it's in our neck of the woods to threaten the Gulf Coast. Here's Vicky over here, sheared, kind of messy, and then another system coming off Africa. There's the remnants of Renee. Just really incredible. So obviously Paulette made landfall in Bermuda last night, and it's moving away, so conditions will improve today, and you guys will have a really nice sunset tonight after the tail of Paulette moves out. But the swells from this hurricane are going to continue to propagate out like that towards the coast, and that's going to create rip current problems. And if you're going to the beach, the water temperatures are still nice and warm. Please, please, please be mindful of that. I know the surfers are going to love it, but be careful because that wave energy can be very dangerous if you don't respect it. All right, so let's take a look at Sally here and kind of drill down in terms of what to expect. First of all, look at the incredible explosion of convection here just since the sunrise. Literally, the clouds pushing up against the stratosphere, that upward motion forcing the air up pretty rapidly over a pretty large area. You think about how small, like if you took a balloon and popped it upwards and the air went up quickly, if you had dust inside that balloon or powder, you'd see that, and that kind of explosion would happen quickly over a small area. This is happening over thousands of square miles, hundreds of square miles, I guess, hundreds or thousands, and certainly hundreds. And so it's moving the atmosphere out and up very rapidly, relatively speaking. You see this very dramatically in nuclear explosions, what we call airburst explosions, where the atomic bomb goes off and the nuclear bomb goes off and the atmosphere spreads out very quickly. That's a very rapid release of heat, and it happens in a matter of seconds. It's very terrifying, obviously. This is very similar in its fluid dynamics that we're looking at here. Instead of the splitting of atoms releasing heat, this is the energy of the tropical storm releasing latent heat into the atmosphere. Condensation is a warming process. And so the center of Sally over here is getting warmer. Not markedly warmer like a thermonuclear explosion does, of course, but a couple of degrees Celsius warmer in the core than the outside environment. And that differential in the temperature gradient and the release of that latent heat really helps this thing to get going and starts that heat engine on a perpetual roller coaster ride, down in terms of acceleration. And this is well on its way to becoming a hurricane. And when you see that amazing outward push of those clouds like that right there, that's showing you that this is really pushing out a tremendous amount of energy over the very warm water of the Gulf of Mexico. You see the lightning in there is indicated by the yellow. This is definitely developing an inner core, and we're going to have a dangerous hurricane to deal with here, unfortunately, for portions of the Gulf Coast. Now, this is just about as kick butt as a satellite animation as you'll ever see. Just really, really neat. Coming from Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin, I believe it is. And I was trying to see if there's a credit on here. Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences. I guess it's the University of Wisconsin Department of Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences. And just again, you see the amazing structure here. Still kind of just round in its appearance. You don't have a lot of banding just yet, and there's still a lot of exposed feeder bands, if you want to call them that, on the west side. So it's got some work to do. But you got to admit, compared to what we saw for most of the day yesterday, Sally has greatly improved its structure, and that's not good news for people along the Gulf Coast up here. Water temperatures all along the path are going to be plenty warm. The upper ocean heat content is sufficient. We're talking 29 to almost 30 degrees Celsius and, mid 80s or so, 84, 85, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So this definitely has plenty of warm water to work with as it tracks in here and eventually probably turns north somewhere along the coast of the central Gulf Coast. We'll just have to see. Now, let's click on that real quick and just look at the track map from the Hurricane Center. And then we're going to look at our tracking map in just a moment, what I call our super tracking map or our ultimate tracking map. So it does become a hurricane later today, and it gradually turns just east of Louisiana and then hooks back to the northeast, crossing the Mississippi coast. Where that happens is critical in terms of who sees the storm surge and the other ill effects. And that's what we're going to start to look at here as we go forward. All right, so let me refresh this just to make sure. Okay, so this is the latest experimental peak storm surge graphic from the National Hurricane Center, and this is very serious. All right, 4 to 7 feet, and then 3 to 5 feet, all of this area through here, and the surge isn't going to come up and be exactly these numbers in every area. Let me talk about storm surge for just a moment, for those of you that don't thoroughly understand it. It's highly dependent on the strength of the hurricane, the track of the hurricane, the radius of the maximum winds, and the shape of the coastline, and to some extent how fast the storm is moving, the hurricane is moving. Storm surge is simply the wind pushing the water onshore. It's not a big wave at the end of the hurricane like you see in some Hollywood movies that comes sweeping in. It's literally, if you had water in your hand and you went and you blew all that water out, that's storm surge. That's exactly what that is. It's the same exact principle. And this area of the coastline traps the water very efficiently because it's concave. And as Sally moves in and then makes that turn, wherever that is, it's those areas to the right, to the east of the center, where the onshore flow is the greatest, especially if Sally develops a strong inner core that drives that water in. That's where the surge could be the highest. And I suspect that all of these numbers in here are going to change throughout the day. And we will revisit this tonight. I'm going to do another update late tonight. But storm surge is my greatest concern for safety, for obvious reasons, because, once the water gets hold of you, it's very difficult to deal with it. You know that, right? Water is denser than air, and we cannot breathe underwater. So anywhere from Alabama, Florida border, all the way over here to parts of Louisiana, a life-threatening storm surge, pure and simple, and it's going to cause boat damage, dock damage, harbor damage, flooding, restaurants, homes, anybody that's rebuilt after Katrina, etc. This is just bad news. There's no way around it. Luckily, at least for now, we're not seeing signs of a catastrophic storm surge like Katrina. Katrina was a much larger hurricane. So let's certainly keep things in perspective, but I need you to respect this and know that every storm and every surge is different. Depending on the angle of that turn, it might drive some storm surge right up Mobile Bay into areas that are not used to it. Daphne, Alabama, Fairhope, etc. We need to watch this very closely. All right, so take that extremely seriously going forward. All right, the next hazard is rain. And you're looking at that area right there in the lighter color, purple or pinkish, whatever you call it. I'm going to outline it in black. This whole area could see 15 to 20 inches of rain. I mean, let that, no pun intended, but let that soak in. All right, I zoomed in here. 15 to 20 inches of rain inside of this area that I am outlining. 10 to 15 inches of rain in the red area. That's ridiculous in and of itself. I need you to understand, we're going to have 2, maybe 3 really high impact threats from Sally. The storm surge is a given. The rainfall is pretty much a given as well. The rain is harder to pinpoint exactly where these heavy totals are, exactly who floods. It's based on a lot of local effects, topography, building, if you have impervious surfaces, large parking lots, etc. The rainfall, this is a general idea of the rainfall. So those two, storm surge and rainfall, huge, high impact. And if you want to put a category on it, I would say these are major impacts. Category 3, 4, 5, if you want to look at it that way. The wind may be a Cat 1 or 2, but the impacts could be Cat 3, 4, 5, if that makes sense. High storm surge, come on, 7 to 11 feet, 5 to 8 feet, that's pretty bad. And then, of course, the rainfall, these 20-inch amounts, that's just ridiculous. And then the third factor that we just don't know yet, is this able to ramp up and become a powerful hurricane where you have significant wind damage? We have a day longer than I thought we were going to have. That's good for preparation. That's bad because Sally is going to have more time to strengthen. That slow movement, it's not moving slow enough to self-destruct, but it's not moving fast enough to keep it from potentially becoming much stronger than we are anticipating. And there's really no way to know. Honestly, we didn't know that Michael was going to become a Category 5 hurricane as it made its approach there and went in near Mexico Beach. We didn't know. We knew it was going to be a strong hurricane, and it was that last 12 to 18 hours, really 12 hours. And I'm not trying to frighten you and say, oh, Mark said it could be a Cat 5 with Sally. I'm just saying we don't know what the ceiling is, and we know how these things go with intensity. So please be ready. So geographically, where are we talking about? We're going to have problems from Miramar Beach all the way around into Mobile Bay, Fairhope, Daphne, Spanish Port, Mobile, through the Mississippi Sound and the beautiful towns along there from Pascagoula all the way over through Gulfport and Waveland, past Christiane, Long Beach, and then obviously Louisiana down here. Just depending on the track, you're going to have some serious problems there. But I think the main area that I am most concerned with is storm surge from Orange Beach through Gulf Shores, Dauphin Island, Biola Battery, and then the coast here south of and right along 90 in Mississippi, and then up into Mobile Bay. This could be a big problem up here depending on where this comes in. And so one of the best resources that you have is weather.gov, weather.gov, or you can go to the National Hurricane Center homepage and you look right here where it says, where are they? Local info on Sally, right there. Tallahassee, Mobile, etc., so forth and so on. If you click on those, that'll give you local information. If you're searching for, well, what do I do for my area? What are the evacuations for my area? These local forecast offices, what we call the WFOs, the weather forecast offices, are going to give you that really helpful information. And as an example, if you click on Mobile, Pensacola, this is what you get. And it's all about the storm and the impacts that they are expecting from that office. All these tabs here are very, very helpful. And this doesn't cost anything. You're already paying for it with your taxes, so take advantage of it. The other way to do it is you can go to weather.gov and you can put in like Gulfport if you want to, Gulfport, Mississippi, as an example. It takes you to the landing page from the National Weather Service, and as the internet here is slow, and I know the weather services have been having issues, so this is probably going to make me look bad because it's not going to load. Let's just move on. You get the idea. Weather.gov, put in your zip code, hopefully it comes up, and look for hurricane local statement. You want to read that local information. Local television, national news is obviously great on a national level, especially for weather information. Other stuff, don't even get me started. But your local meteorologist in your local community, on social media, etc., you want to know what's going to happen. What can I expect? I highly recommend, though, the weather.gov, hurricanes.gov, hurricane with an S.gov, and that local information. All right, so the areas, we've been through it before. Every one of these is different. This will be a slow mover, so you're going to have very heavy rain over this area. Streams are going to flood. This is going to be a lingering problem for several days, and we're just going to have to deal with it. It's not the worst thing ever, at least not yet. Hopefully it won't be, but we have to understand this is different than what we were looking at yesterday. It's been this up and down. Well, day before yesterday, it looked like, oh my gosh, a very serious hurricane could come in. Yesterday, it was like, geez, what happened? I guess it's not. And today, it's looking like it's going to happen. So let's be ready for it. So how are we going to cover it? Well, we use Patreon as our way to fund what we do. We do it through HurricaneTrack.com Insider, and we have access. We grant access for our supporters through the HurricaneTrack Insider dashboard, the main page here. We have our super tracking map, as I like to call it, and look how busy that is. And I was going to show you this just to kind of demonstrate it for you. The angle of attack, is very important, and we can look at that kind of stuff on this map. But the map also has other layers. We can put our Nest cameras on there, our remote cams, our weather stations when those are active, all of that in this custom-coded map by one of our supporters, Will Woodgate, over in the UK, put this together for us. It's interactive. You can click on these and you get information. It's pretty cool. But we also put our camera systems on here. And what I'm going to do, just to kind of give you an outline of how we're going to cover this. And the way we fund it is through you supporting it. And in return, you get access, and then we share that with the media. We don't charge local media. because we need you to be able to see what's going on. And it's important to get the information out there. And 90% of what we do doesn't cost anything. So what do we do if you help support this? We set up these cameras, and my idea is to sprinkle them anywhere from Alabama, including Mobile Bay, probably down in Dauphin Island as well, and then along the Mississippi Sound coastline, south of Highway 90 or right on 90. And we're going to put up, I think I've got 8 camera systems and 1 weather station for this event. Every bit of that funded through our crowdfunding supporters. So I'm going to set these cameras out. I'm going to have help from my friend Mike Farrow and Greg Nordstrom. Greg lives here in the Gulfport area with his wife, Taylor. Taylor is a meteorologist at WLOX, in case you didn't know that. And so they're going to have to deal with this, personally. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to set up these camera systems. We feed those into the National Hurricane Center, the local weather service, local emergency management, and we don't charge them anything. I mean, you probably wouldn't be able to even if you wanted to. That's why it's crowd-funded. You understand? That's why we do that. And you'll be able to watch the cameras. There's nothing on here now because I haven't started yet. But each of these will be filled with a camera system. And there's the radar. There's our Twitter that's embedded on our little digital dashboard. Very unique to what we do. And then here are the people that support the project. There they are. These are real people. And they're the ones that are making this happen. I wish that I could give it all away for free, but I have to earn a living, and this is how I do it, and I have to fund the project. And to be able to afford all of this equipment, all of the bandwidth, and how do I do it? We do it through Patreon. It's like public radio. You have a sustaining group of people that support the longevity of the project. And the level is $10 a month or higher, depending on what you want to get back in return. And, you can drop down to $1 a month in the off season if you want to. The idea is to grow this and get 1,000 to 2,000 supporters annually, and then we can do amazing things. We're already doing amazing things, but we can grow it even more. I'm also going to put pressure sensors out there. The weather station that I mentioned, one weather station that'll measure wind speed and direction and all that, but we're going to put a whole bunch of pressure sensors. We did that for Laura, and it's amazing. I was going to release, I might still do that, the Laura report. Maybe I will. I don't want Sally to overshadow it because Brent put a lot of effort into that report. Anyhow, we're also doing a lot for the science, and we got to fund it. And so, that's how we do it, is through Patreon. The link to the Patreon sign up is in the description of today's video. It's patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. And you sign up and you log in from the HurricaneTrack.com homepage right there where it says Hurricane Track Insider Patreon login. And you're good to go. You'll have access to all of these things here that I showed you. You can interact with us. We actually work with many of our supporters interactively. We meet them in the field. We put cameras on their property. It is truly an amazing cooperative, and it helps us to bring you the very best in online hurricane information. And we're branching out into other severe weather, high-impact weather events from there. I was just in Colorado. That's how we do it. All right, so there you go. So I'm going to finish this up, upload it, and then get started. I'm going to turn the vehicle camera on. That will be publicly streamed on YouTube. We do not monetize that. We try to make that available to everybody. So that's important. And I appreciate everybody's support to make it happen. We will be live 24 hours a day from now on until this is all over. So I hope to see you either on YouTube, social media, Twitter, etc. Or if you're one of our supporters and we see you on our chat or you're interacting with me through email, I look forward to that as well. All right? Oh, and by the way, of course, we'll have continuous updates from Jack Sillen. Yeah, he's contributing to us. He's also working with the Hurricane Tracker app. You might know that app. That's not our app. That's a separate app from a different company completely, but he's working with them. It's all about the information. It really is. We all are in this together, and I love that cross-pollination. It's not competition. We're all in the same business of helping people, and I think it's remarkable. All right, I'm done. As always, thanks for watching. I appreciate it very, very much. It's great to have your time and attention. Hang in there if you're down along the Gulf Coast. You've been through this before. We'll get through this as well, I promise. I am Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com. I'll see you next from out on the road as we start setting up our equipment in anticipation of what will be Hurricane Sally.